is the North Carolina Food and Beverage Podcast, brought to you by Cisco. Cisco is here to help set you up for success by delivering high-quality foods, products, and services for your restaurant. Recording live to digital from the NCF&B studios in downtown Raleigh. Join us as we lead you into the kitchen, inside the bottle, and into the minds of the food and beverage industry. And now, over imbibing and abundantly indulging for journalistic integrity, it's Max Trujillo and Matthew Weiss.
Hello, and thank you for listening to the North Carolina Food and Beverage Podcast. I am your co-host, Max Trujillo.
And I am your co-host, Matthew Weiss. And we did not have enough barbecue talk at Bubbles Brisket on June 3rd. So we had to bring back one of the participants. He is the director of cuisine. I'm probably making that title up. You're the executive chef overseeing all of your one of your favorite barbecue joints across the state and with a location in South Carolina. That's Midwood Smokehouse, and it is Chef Matthew Barry.
Hey guys, how you doing? Thanks for having me.
Good to have you.
Yeah, welcome to the show. We appreciate you coming on in for a second time. Let's not get into it, or should we get into it?
Why did you even have to bring that up?
Oh, guys, we had a great little podcast. Our good friend Jake Wood was guest hosting because I was guest ghosting the show down in Georgia with the family on vacation. I will not completely blame Matthew Weiss on this one. There is I'm actually going to blame Matthew Barry on this one.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Oh,
You didn't see that coming.
Shots fired.
You didn't see that coming, but I will say this.
Way to treat a guest.
I know. Well, Matt Weiss is not the most technically sound person when it comes to audio, and he didn't go to school for it, folks, so it's fine. We had Jake Wood in to be the guest host in lieu of me, which I'm sure that most listeners right now are going, damn, why is he not here now? But
especially the people watching are definitely saying
he's
that.
Very handsome, yeah. And so anyhow, I told Matt how to record everything and get it all done in my absence. And then this is where you're to blame, Mr. Barry. You threw an audible at the last second and said, I can't be in studio. I'm going to do it on Zoom instead. And we went, and Matt went, I don't know how to do that in studio and Zoom. I think I do.
Well, the weird thing is that I recorded another podcast with 7 different chefs that day that worked out perfectly. So
that just adds. Maybe that just adds to your.
This is being hospitable here, Matt.
This is way more comfortable than my previous podcast.
Is that right? Well, okay. Now that we've got all of that nonsense out of the way, we're here in studio, which is great. We got video, so if anybody hasn't been watching us, flip over to our YouTube station, watch us on video. You can see our bright, shiny faces. It's real nice and neat.
And a little secret, guess what, guys? If you're watching on YouTube, you can get the episode on Wednesday night, so you'll actually get it early.
That's right. Yeah, that's a nice little tip over there, Matt. But we're in studio. We are about 10 days post Bubbles Brisket, which for anybody that was there, it felt like everybody was there. We were super busy. It was a huge success. We very much loved having everybody there. The weather complied with what we wanted. It was bright and sunny, even almost hot. And it was a great day. I think we had 600 plus people, close to 7. I always like to over embellish. It was almost 1,000. But we bring that up because Midwood Smokehouse was one of the 10 fantastic pitmaster barbecue chefs, accounts, whatever you want to call it, restaurants that were all there, getting into it with everyone. And Matthew Barry, you were at the helm. Why don't we start there? What did you guys make at Bubbles Brisket?
Well, we ended up doing street tacos. We made the tortillas fresh that morning. We made little mini tortillas. So little bite size. Everyone was eating so much food. You didn't want to overwhelm people. You don't know which stop they're at. Are they at stop 1 or stop 9? I did a lap myself, and by stop 9, it's a good amount of brisket going on.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
But we made some fire roasted red salsa. Just a little onion cilantro mix on top, and really we didn't want to do too much to cover the brisket up. We wanted the brisket to stand for itself, but have a little accompaniments with it.
Yeah, and as long as you mention it, I just want to jump into something real quick because you guys have a very special tortilla maker on site there.
We do. It's kind of new to me still too, but we do make all of our tortillas fresh daily, and it's like a conveyor system where it presses the tortilla and then it cooks on these ceramic boards that are heated from underneath, and it rotates it. So I guess it gets cooked evenly, and then it goes and it flips. It's pretty neat. It's changed my whole perspective on tortillas.
Yeah, I mean, it's great, and it's not like it doesn't feel manufactured. I mean, a machine made it. It wasn't like someone's abuela in the corner, like smacking them like you would expect, but it's really good. I mean,
no, they are like the first, but you gotta. They're on a time stamp. You know, you can't make those tortillas and then expect them to be good 12 hours later. So we're making them throughout the course of the day, but like right when they come off the press, those first hour or two, man, they're amazing.
Yeah, and that's kind of so. Just for those of you who don't know about Midwood Smokehouse, you guys, and we'll bring it back to Bubbles and Brisket a little bit later, but you guys started out in Charlotte in a little neighborhood. You started out in the South End?
Plaza Midwood.
Plaza Midwood. Duh. Midwood Smokehouse, right. Sorry, my Charlotte geography is I don't know, neurotic. Moronic at best is the word I'm looking for.
There you go.
But you guys started out as a little neighborhood. It was really successful, and now there's 7 of them.
There's 6 right now.
6 of them.
We just opened Raleigh in February.
Okay.
7. We're going into the Charlotte Douglas Airport in late summer, early fall.
Okay.
So that'll be the 7th location, and that'll be a big one. That'll be a lot of exposure for us.
Yeah, airport's always a dicey proposition because there's only so much you can control there.
Well, and then we're kind of manipulating the menu to some respect.
Okay.
I'll go ahead and let the cat out of the bag. We're not going to do brisket there.
Oh.
wait, what?
Well, that's my name. It's our reputation on the line. And like you said, we only have so much control over the employees and different. And then also, the airport's really tough and strict about the smokers we can use, the fire, the wood, and all that stuff. So it's kind of limited us, and we want to make sure we can do it to the what we believe in, the full of our abilities. And there's the menu will look different than the menu you will find street side in the restaurants for sure.
Well, I can tell you one thing about airports. I'm sure that Cisco delivers there, so you can be probably pretty confident about the quality of product. And so I wanted to actually pause there for a quick word from our proud title sponsor, Cisco.
Yeah, if you are in the food and beverage industry, I'm sure you already know that Cisco is the leader in global food service, bringing you fresh food and fresh ideas.
The fresh food, custom cuts of meat and brisket, beautiful produce, high quality seafood, plus local and regional specialties. Truly everything you need for your thriving F&B service.
And the Fresh Ideas, a network of culinary experts to consult on your unique business plan, enhance your menu, stay on top of trends, and get more efficient as you strategize with the best.
Plus, they put it all at your fingertips via Cisco Shop. Easy online ordering for whatever you need, whenever you need it. You can search Cisco's complete food service catalog and place quick and easy orders on the go with any device.
Visit Cisco.com, that's SYSCO.com, to learn more about Cisco's shop and the other great ways Cisco can help grow your business and your restaurant.
Cisco, at the heart of food and service.
Right on. Nice. Well, Matt, while we're taking a quick little break, we have a little elf on the shelf over here, so to speak. For those that you can't really see on the cameras over here, maybe I could kind of manipulate it. But anyhow, we do have a brand new additional sponsor, one that will put a little pep in your step, my friends, one that will caffeinate the world. We're talking about Carborough Coffee Roasters. And with that, our friend Lane Mitchell over there from Carborough Coffee Roasters is here. Lane, can you hear us?
I sure can. How y'all doing?
Excellent, excellent. Yeah. Thanks for getting on the show with us. We've got you zooming in. Where are you from, or where are you calling in from?
Yeah, so I'm calling in from our second roastery, which is on East Franklin Street. So we began, we're a premier small batch coffee roaster. We've been around for 25 years on the scene globally and in North Carolina. And we started roasting alongside our first coffee shop, which was Open Eye Cafe. It opened in Carborough in 1988, right there on downtown Carborough. Greensboro Street, and we chose the name Carborough Coffee Roasters because we wanted to really ground ourselves in Carrboro community as we were reaching out and connecting other communities.
But you, Lane, came by the studio yesterday and provided us with some fantastic coffee and even a way to specifically brew it, which we're doing at this moment. But while it is not percolating, while it's dripping, while it is infusing from the hot water and the fantastic coffee, I want to relate this back to barbecue and what a pit master might do with you, Matthew Barry, because like if you got coffee and you got barbecue, they're connected somehow. How would you, Lane? What would you connect the dots?
Yeah. So what I shared with you, Max, yesterday when I came by the studio is our Piedmont Espresso. And it's our flagship espresso. We serve it at all three of our cafes. Third one is Cafe Perennial up towards the university on Franklin Street. And not only does it make a fantastic espresso, but it makes a really excellent dry rub for brisket and chicken and ribs, and also a super robust cup of drip coffees. And we want to share it with you, not only because we love smoked meats and we love brisket especially, but this is one of our longest running farmer-partner direct relationships. There's always a lot of really good orange and floral aromas in this coffee. There's always a lot of soft apricot acidity, some wondering, lingering caramel flavor, which really works super great with barbecue. And we're working with them to really kind of bolster their post-harvesting process so we can get even better flavor profiles in seasons to come. So,
Chef, you ever use coffee in your rub?
I have used espresso in the rub before. We actually, we just rolled out some new daily specials. On the weekends, we run red eye burn-ins and grits, where we make a red eye barbecue sauce, and then we make some meals like fresh cream. We use heavy cream in the grits.
Oh, really?
It's like the red eye burn-ins on top of that, and it's kind of like you've got the cream versus the red eye and the contrast, and they're really good.
Wow.
Sounds delicious. Well, Matt Barry or other chefs want to buy this for their restaurants, or we want to go buy Carrboro Coffee Roasters. How do we get this?
You can visit any of our three cafes, Cafe Girardi or Cafe Perennial in Chapel Hill, or Open Eye Cafe in Carrboro, or you can just email info@carrborocoffee.com. We'd love to work with you. We have about 30 direct relationships and tons of different flavor profiles. We really care about our farmers and really want to make their lives better. So we love working with them and connecting them to chefs and restaurant owners around the world. So.
Do you guys do any kind of cold brew, or is it all?
Yeah, we do cold brew. We do cold brew with this blend, in fact, and we also do an Ethiopia cold brew, which is a little bit more berry flavored, blackberry flavored. So we do it as a concentrate and also in kegs for nitro and still.
Anthony, what do you think about that?
It is that fucking special.
It really truly is. Thank you, Anthony Guerra, just shows up. Lane, thank you so much. We appreciate it, and we will talk with you soon.
Okay, take care.
Thanks, Lane.
See you next time.
Bye.
When you're making a barbecue sauce, cold brew works better than hot coffee. Hot coffee is going to potential to turn on you quicker.
Okay.
It's a little more stable. It's not going to have. It just is a smoother flavor profile as far as like how it contrasts with everything else you put in the sauce.
Yeah, that makes sense. So back to Midwood and what you guys are doing there. So when you started out, now, like you said, the 6th location in Raleigh, you have one in South Carolina, correct?
Yes, sir.
So you're multi-state, multi-cities, but it's not, you're a smoke house, which I think is a really apt title, because it's not just like, the classic definition of Carolina barbecue is doing that whole hog. You're a smokehouse.
Correct. And we try to think of, I think of us as like a melting pot of barbecue. We've kind of gone and done our research.
But not the melting pot, mind you.
No, absolutely not. Oh
It's
my
a
God.
very different place.
It's kind of like, well, they say the United States is the melting pot of people back in the 1800s. It's like immigration. Well, it's kind of like the same thing. And it's funny because a lot of those barbecue styles that you see in even here, all kind of started when you had all the mass migrations to the United States in the 1800s. Everyone bringing their flavor profiles and their like food culture from their home countries, and they kind of evolved into something different here. But we've been to Texas, we've been to Kansas City, we've been to different places, and we try to take the best of all the barbecue worlds and kind of bring them together. Now, my heart is always going to be North Carolina, and we do the pork and all that stuff, but we do have like the brisket, which is, 20 years ago, brisket was not a big food thing, especially in North Carolina. I don't think anyone cared about brisket in North Carolina.
We couldn't find brisket. Don't even go 20 years back. I'd go 5 years back. We were not finding brisket the way we were. Matt and I will take credit for it. 3 years into the Bubbles and Brisket, we pretty much made it happen. So you're welcome, everyone. But I mean, when folks like Lord's Barbecue were coming up, or Longleaf Swine popping up over here at Foundation just across the street, they were doing brisket, and like Matt and I looked at each other. We're like, dude, this is, being not from North Carolina, this is what we loved, like in the states that we came from when we'd go to barbecue places. So it was nice that North Carolina kind of was willing to diversify a little bit and get a little bit bigger with its selection. Because
well, I think some of that had to do with too, especially like here in the RTP and down in Charlotte, you've got a lot of people that aren't from around here.
Right.
So they've tried the pork barbecue in there because that's what's local. But people are bringing the different. I think it just shows how like the barbecue culture in North Carolina is kind of expanding.
Yeah.
But like now, like Charlotte used to never think of Charlotte or Raleigh as barbecue cities. Whenever you brought up barbecue, people would go to the eastern part of the state, or they'd go Lexington.
Yeah.
Like I think now that Raleigh and Charlotte are both part of that barbecue conversation, they have to be.
Yeah, and so what got you started? Like, why are you in all this pit mastering? Like, how and why?
Man, sometimes I ask myself that. I just got lucky, I guess. I've always had a passion for barbecue dating back to when I was young, and it's always been around the culture. Growing up in North Carolina my whole life, it was just part of the culture that, you at events that had more than 8 people, there's probably gonna be barbecue involved. In events larger than 20 or 30 people, we're probably gonna have like a big old smoker. Someone's gonna bring it, whether it was an uncle or someone hired someone from outside. I mean, even going to the beach as a kid when we had family reunions, somebody would show up with a pull behind pit and a pig. Went to fast forward a few years, and I went to college here at NC State here in Raleigh, and football games were like a big deal for us then when I was in school, and it just turned into one of those things where tailgating wise, like by default, I don't know, I just started being the guy that would stay up and cook a pork butt or cook some ribs or bring it out, and then by the end of college it was just kind of assumed that I was going to do it. It wasn't even like asked anymore. Like, just kind of like fell on me.
And then people start like recommending, hey Matt, can you do a coffee rub on that pork butt this time?
And
yeah, it's like the guy that, like, I own a truck, so I get called all the time.
Can you help me move a couch?
It'll just be like an hour, and it cut to 9 hours later.
You're helping them move their entire house.
Like sleeping over because we're not done until the middle of the night. But yeah.
But I didn't really see this as a career or anything. I worked in some barbecue restaurants around town. Q Shack, when it used to be on Hillsborough Street, I worked there when I was in college. I got through with school and with my history degree, which is very popular degree these days, very, very much prepares you for the real world of jobs. And I didn't like any of the jobs that were out there, and I kind of just fell in, I want to say into a rut, but I wasn't sure what I was doing. I was working in restaurants, maybe I wasn't. And I met Frank Scabelli of FS Food Group.
Yeah.
And my uncle worked for him, and they were opening up Midwood Smokehouse down in Charlotte in 2011. And called me up, and we talked a little bit. I went down there and cooked some food for him, and 2 weeks later I was back in Charlotte working for him. And back at the time, Midwood Smokehouse was like, I mean, if you guys could see it, I don't know if you guys have not been to the location in Charlotte.
I have, yeah.
Okay,
yeah,
well, when it started, it was the bar side only, and outside there were some picnic tables. And we were not doing big sales. If you know, the pit is right next to the dish pit, just because of design. I don't think anyone ever thought we were going to do the volume we were doing.
Right.
Well, nobody ever thought that. And then as I got there, we kind of just took off, I guess. You put the labor in, you put the food quality first, and like, in my opinion, like food quality's first, then like other things will kind of start to take care of themselves. And we did some, we went to Texas, we went to brisket camp. Texas A&M University has the largest meat science department in the United States.
Oh, wow.
And they take it serious down there. We did some research trips, and we kind of just grew into what it is. And honestly, like, I can't even pinpoint when exactly it happened and it transformed into this, but it's like
like the original menu was, did you have brisket on the original menu?
We did have brisket on the menu, but we had like, there was no burn-ins. There was ribs, there was bone-in chicken, there was pork, and there was brisket.
Okay.
We were making they were making sausage back then. But the menu was nothing like it is now. We've added burgers, we've added salmon. We've done a lot to kind of make it more diversified and open to everybody. Like you said, we're not just like a barbecue joint. We're like a full-service barbecue restaurant. But the popularity was there, and it just kind of kept growing. At the time, I was just working the pit there and kind of running that kitchen, and it just rolled out where I call myself executive pit master. I don't even know that I actually have a job title. I think like everywhere I go, I kind of change it. I'm the corporate chef.
Yeah.
I'm the executive chef. Oh, I'm the director of cuisine. You know?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, we never.
So I was right when I on my
Yes.
intro. I was spot on.
I don't think we never thought it would grow to this, and I think like it's putting like barbecue is like a labor of love. You put the love into it, you put the time into it, and the results speak for themselves, right?
So I'm always interested on the business side of that, like especially with barbecue, because it is such a specific thing. You know, you have your specific types of smokers or pits that are unique to your own style, but then you replicate this 6, soon to be 7 times, and it's like, how do you still do that well? And then how do you still do that without getting the reputation of one of these bigger, franchise barbecue joints that's, you go there and it's good, but it's not like going to your local barbecue place?
Well, I think we stay true to the craft. We make everything scratch, fresh in kitchen. So they all have recipes. So it's like as you get bigger, there's like the temptation to be like, oh, we can get this company to mass produce this for us.
Yeah.
But we don't do that. Everything gets made. All the rubs get made. All the sauces get made in house. Even from the salad dressings to the littlest things. The banana
Like
pudding.
in the individual space,
Yes.
not from a commissary kitchen and then you deliver it out.
We do not have a commissary kitchen.
Okay.
Which makes it more difficult. A commissary kitchen would make it easier from a
Like barbecue sauces
consistency
and stuff like
standpoint,
that.
but from
Yeah.
a logistics standpoint, then you got to figure out how to get all that stuff around. Like we're not all grouped together. Plus, you've got the outlier in Raleigh, the outlier in Columbia. But I think it's also to the people. Like you've got to hire people that are like genuinely interested in barbecue. Like restaurant jobs, there's so many of them. But if you're in a barbecue restaurant, I feel like you can't just like wing it. You've got to put some muscle into it. You've got to care. If you don't, then it's not something you can just go through the motions on.
Yeah.
Like you have to.
Okay, so what's the secret there?
Well,
I mean,
that's a tough one. You got to. I think employee retention's a big deal. I think identifying people, talent. Working the smoker or working the pit, that's not something like some people just have it. Like they may not realize they have it. You may have, Brandon sitting over there and he's working a different station. He touches some brisket one day and you can see like the way he handles it, the way he looks at it. And you're like, man, that guy might have it. And like, honestly, you can train people and you can train them over and over again, but you can't train them to care.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't say this, so it's not me saying this, but I heard someone say this the other day, and I was like, this is blasphemy. But will the barbecue bubble ever burst? Are we in a barbecue bubble? Maybe. Or is this just a thing that, like, this is just part of food culture now? Or is this, like, just very on trend for now?
I think that the barbecue bubble will never burst in the big barbecue hubs because it's always been there.
Mm-hmm.
I think, like, when you go to places like Chicago, New York City, something like that, that barbecue bubble might burst one day.
Yeah.
Because those are also trendy places.
Right.
But I think like in Texas, here, Memphis, Kansas City, I don't think that barbecue bubble's ever gonna. That's been part of the culture going so far back that I don't see how it.
Yeah, I was in Lyon, France a few years ago, and there was like an East North Carolina barbecue style restaurant there, and I went, whoa, if this is happening here, then it's definitely affecting. And barbecue anywhere around the world. It's kind of known by different things, but open fire cooking and smoke and indirect heat is kind of like culturally everybody does that. So that's kind of synonymous with just cooking meat, I guess,
Right.
So I'd see it, but it does feel like there are like right now barbecue's pretty freaking trendy, right?
Yeah, I think to answer the question, I think that the idea of barbecue will always be popular, but yes, the influx of new restaurants that's currently happened will probably slow down, especially as like the cream rises to the top and the people who are doing it better are opening more restaurants, and people are just going to be like, well, I'm going to go to those restaurants and support them.
It's I guess I parallel it a little bit to like the craft brewing industry, right? I mean, people have been talking about when are breweries going to bubble?
When's bourbon going to start losing popularity? And it just like all those things haven't.
When people stop drinking, you mean?
Yeah, I mean,
yeah, and so it's like, but no, like vodka was a big deal in the 80s, and bourbon wasn't really popular at all. It just kind of it got by, It's, and like let's be honest, like rum's not really a big deal right now. So like rum's getting by, but rum might have a chance at some point where it gets, to be like more popular. We knew this in the wine world.
Not till tequila and mezcal has their day in the sun.
Yeah,
which they kind of are.
Yeah, I think liquor wise, I don't know. What would you say? I think it's bourbon, tequila.
Yeah,
mezcal and tequila in one category.
Or you have to put them together. It's not big enough, but
vodka's still there. But
we'll see. So that's an interesting thing. And Matt, I'll let you in a little statistic, or I'll steal a Dan Patrick reference stat of the day. Max, when we were at Sebastian Zuccardi's seminar a couple of weeks ago, one of the guys from Wine Cellars, their importer, said about how North Carolina is one of the few states in the last couple of years where fine wine consumption has actually grown versus the other set.
I think he actually went beyond to say that North Carolina is the most improved per capita of wine drinkers in the fine wine realm. Not like Barefoot or Yellowtail, but like good wine.
Which we would say like wines around above $13
sure
retail.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah.
So we are consuming more wine in this state of a classy level faster and more often than any other state per capita than any other state in the nation, which is crazy. Now, obviously, California and New York are saturated. Those markets are already kind of like at the peak. I always parallel this to like working out. If you're really fit, you don't have much more to go to get more fit. But if you're a little tubbleard or so, you're gonna drop.
Got a lot of room for improvement.
Yeah. So no offense. North Carolina had some love handles in the wine world, that needed to work off. And so, but we're working those love handles off, and now we're like a pretty fit state when it comes to wine consumption. Like we are purchasing far more than we ever purchased, consuming more than we ever purchased. And it's not to say that we're drinking any more as a state. It's just we're choosing to drink wine more than...
The reason I bring that up, juxtaposed to the barbecue bubble and the bourbon bubble, is because the trends in other big cities are showing more cocktails, more liquor than wine. And so I'm wondering like how that relates to barbecue. But then again, well, I guess first of all, selfish question here. What are wine sales like within Midwood compared to spirits and beer?
Very low.
Very little. Yeah,
more of like, bourbon and barbecue go well pretty together. Beer and barbecue. Not to say we don't sell any, but they're compared to everything else, they're pretty low.
Yeah. Well, we've dispelled all that theories with our Bubbles and Brisket festival 3 years
Champagne,
running.
baby.
Champagne, baby. You need to get more of it with your barbecue.
Champagne's different. Champagne's a whole other category.
There you go.
Yeah, champagne can exist in a barbecue sense. So that part is cool.
So as we see Midwood grow, and we're getting back on that train. So talk to us about your preferred smoking apparatus and pit and how you develop that.
So we use J&R manufactured in Mesquite, Texas, custom builds all of our pits for us.
Okay.
And
J&R manufacturers.
They make a product called the Oiler. And it is a rotisserie, but it's an all wood burning. So there's no gas assist. I know a lot of places in like the big cities where they do the barbecue now because of fire regulations and stuff like that. You've got the gas assist, and you're really just loading some wood in for flavor. We're actually cooking with wood.
Are you turning your nose down on the gas assist thing?
Yes.
Okay.
On the record, yes.
Okay. Fair.
Not to say you can't get a good product out of it, but I like being the history degree and being the historical importance of barbecue in our culture. Like I just think it's more authentic and more like taking it back to the original craft.
Okay.
Right? But the rotisserie, I do like the rotisserie, which is automated, so then I am kind of a bit of a contradiction to myself.
Yeah.
But I like that. It's a self-basting, so like, you're constantly got the juices from the brisket dripping on the ribs, dripping on, and everything's, everything's coming out very nice and moist.
Not kosher.
No. No.
Noted.
But we get those.
And do you when you like this is fascinating. So all of those are in all locations.
Yes,
same
correct.
exact apparatus.
the same methodology, not the exact same
Like
build.
you have to spec it out to
they
size.
spec it out to the space you have and all that. And some of them, the one in Raleigh we got is a bigger model than the ones we have in Charlotte.
Okay. You expect to do more business?
We're hoping to do a bigger volume. I have one of these in Charlotte in my catering location, but also too, like we've been able to over the years with the 4 locations be able to piggyback off each other a little bit. So if you've got a bunch of stuff going on a weekend, we're able to cook some meat and help each other out, so to speak. Because also once a year we've got to clean these smokestacks. And you can't cook when they're cleaning the smokestack.
Right.
So we kind of help each other out. So we got the big one up here, anticipating big volume, but also they're kind of on an island up here.
So you can move them.
Yes.
Got it. So
You can also move the meat, is what you're
No,
saying.
I'm not
too,
moving
right?
the meat. The pits aren't moving.
Yeah.
No.
okay. I was like,
Yeah.
I thought
No,
that's
there's
you move the meat. Got it.
That would be
Because that's probably, that's a good thing, is maybe not necessarily throwing meat in the back of a truck and driving it, but the duration and the resting of the meat has absolutely no negative effect to it. It almost has a positive effect, right? Like if you could cook this and let it sit for 12 hours and then get it to temp, is that maybe even more advantageous?
12 hours. Yes, always resting is always going to be advantageous. A few hours, good. 12 hours, it kind of would depend on how far you took the brisket. Or, the pork butts would probably be okay, depends on what it is, and depends on how far you cooked it when you did the original cook, how long you could let it sit before it quality resting is usually a good thing.
Yeah.
Did you go out to JR Manufacturing and like work with the guys to design it and
they've got the design already. We go out there and they kind of show us how to work them, how to maintenance them. And then there's some other companies in Texas now that are kind of like following suit with similar type pits. But these are really the big commercial pits that people in Texas are using right now, and it have been for quite some time. But like with the only place, we're not the only place with this influx of barbecue restaurants. Texas is the same way, and there's a big market for these pits getting built. Like you can't just be like, oh, I'm gonna open a barbecue restaurant. We'll throw some bricks out back and some chain link fence and start cooking some meat. So those guys are actually on pretty extensive wait list now. You're talking like 6 to 8 month lead times to get a pit.
Oh wow! So you got to make sure you order that ahead of time.
Yes,
for,
yes.
Your upcoming locations.
Correct.
How big could Midwood grow to?
That's a great question. I want to say we could probably definitely do another location up here. The triangle as big as it is now. You've got North Raleigh, you've got RTP and all that stuff. I think our Charlotte being our home base, my home base, but the market pretty saturated there. We got 4 locations in that general metropolitan area. But like as you're thinking about like Atlanta, Nashville, like moving kind of out and away from Charlotte, I really think it's hard to say, but the sky's the limit, right?
Yeah.
But with that, like barbecue is like a sense of place, right? To an extent. That your Kansas City barbecue, if you're in Kansas City, or St. Louis barbecue, or Texas barbecue. Now we are doing a lot of quote unquote Texas barbecue here, so that's fine. But like, would there ever be like a North Carolina barbecue place that's doing Texas style barbecue that's now in Texas? Would that be insane?
Oh man, I don't know. That's messing with the barbecue gods. I don't know if we want to do all that. I don't know how we'd be like received. You know what I mean?
I bet not well.
No.
I bet there's certain things people like branded. You do like your national Bud Light, like could go everywhere and it gets received well everywhere. But I feel like, I feel like barbecue does feel like a sense of place. That's why it is interesting that barbecue is now crossing state lines and mixing kind of the cultural aspects of barbecue under one roof, as you guys do, which we appreciate. You're not just doing North Carolina barbecue, but yeah, like with the expanse of that, it's kind of hard to say.
I would think it's a regional. I don't think we would get too far out of the southeast. Like if you go to the Columbia location, there's stuff there. The South Carolina mustard sauce, yes, and we do like the hash and rice, which is the big deal down there, which I don't get, but everyone loves it. So, we try to cater to like, I could see like even this Raleigh store, probably menu is going to evolve a little bit different than the Charlotte stores. And we're cool with that. And I think that's what makes us, like the potential for expansion for us is good, is because we are adaptive and we can like realize that there's a different regional taste. And so like, we don't feel like we have to stay strictly to the script on what the Charlotte locations did. If we go to different places and there's different palates and a different barbecue kind of. I think we can evolve to that.
All right, this is a good point to segue into one of your kryptonites, or maybe was one of your kryptonites, was the beef rib.
Right.
You struggled with that for a while to figure that out. Have you mastered it now?
Yes, we've mastered it.
Okay.
I feel good about it.
Is the beef rib more Kansas City signature?
I think the beef rib is more Texas.
More Texas. Okay. Yeah, that makes
Texas,
sense. Okay.
But what was so hard about it? Why
It wasn't just like it's very similar to a brisket into like the approach to it. Like obviously the cook's different and the cook time and the temp and all that. But like you've got that window where it's perfect, and you pull it out a little early, it's going to be tight. Pull it out a little late, it's going to be kind of falling apart, and they can be dry either way. If you pull it out early, it can be dry because not all the fat's rendered. Pull it out late, it can be dry because all the fat's rendered out. And I guess that was the trying to find the perfect, and then you've got short ribs with their boneless short ribs that a lot of like nice restaurants, fine dining restaurants like that use, and they braise and stuff like that. Trying to smoke that it's a whole different ball game, and then, the bone in is the way to go. And then there's different ones too. You've got back beef ribs, which are not even worth us talking about, so we'll just leave those.
Forget the back beef ribs.
But it took a while to figure out. It took some trips to Texas. It took trying to find that perfect consistency. And what we've come to is like we'll smoke it, we'll get that good bark and that good crust on it, but then we wrap it. And I don't wrap briskets. I don't. Completely different. I don't. I mean, I wrap them when they come out and they drop and rest, but I don't wrap them during the cook.
Yeah, because a lot of people suggest you cook them, then wrap them and get them back on, right?
Yes, or you could use that to push through the stall.
Okay.
I guess oh man, always come to these podcasts and say things and make enemies, but we call it the Texas crutch.
Okay.
When they wrap the brisket and throw it back in because it pushes you through the stall when you want to get through.
Right now, Nick Damp is folding his arms, going, "What's his boss talking about?"
But we wrap the beef rib, and the beef rib kind of steams itself, and kind of, I get that perfect. Oh man, the bounce. You put your hand on top, and you can literally you can tell immediately when you touch it if it's done or not. It does nothing more, it's nothing less. It's a simple.
Yeah.
All right, needs about 15, 20 more minutes.
Yeah, my brisket don't bounce, it jiggles, something like that, right? But okay, so. With that, I do want to know though, do you feel like we were talking about sense of place and sense of all this, like we make reference to Texas and all that. Is there anything that Midwood or just Charlotte in general is doing different, say even inside of doing the Texas barbecue? Maybe this is part of it? You're saying we don't wrap, so that's technically different than what the Texas crutch would be, or so.
Well, they call it the Texas crutch because it gets you through the thing. I've been to lots of places in Texas don't wrap their brisket during the cook, and I think everybody cooks the brisket a little bit different. I've never met anyone.
Does Aaron Franklin wrap his?
Maybe. I don't know.
Many consider him the Godfather.
Yeah, right.
We should. That's something we need to put on a poll on Instagram. Go through every pitmaster that was at Bubbles and Brisket. And hey, do you wrap your brisket during the cook? Yes or no?
Yeah.
But I worked at Corkscrew Barbecue down outside of Houston with Will Buckman. He doesn't wrap during the cook process. We've been to Southside Market. I didn't see them wrap during the cook process. I think that everybody it's crazy, man, because I've been to a lot of places in Texas, and everyone's got a different way to do it. I've heard people, they take it out, they wrap it, they throw it in a Yeti cooler for, like you said, 12 hours.
Yeah.
To finish the cook.
Yeah.
Everyone's got their own little different way.
Like wrapping in cellophane, too.
I've seen that.
You wrap in cellophane and then in paper. That feels weird to me, but that apparently
is I don't know. I after I've seen you, and I've used that towel technique a couple times, on also whole chickens and stuff like that. That seems to me that's just such a no-brainer.
Well, that's two things, right? So when we're talking about wrapping, we're talking about taking out that pink butcher paper, and we're rolling that around a couple times, taping it down, and then you could throw that back in the smoker or not. You could just also put that back in the cooler, as it's got the heat in it, and it kind of keeps the heat in. But then on top of it, when you're going to put it in the Yeti or so, you could then also wrap it in a bunch of beach towels to insulate, I guess. That's another approach too. Matt, you're looking at me like I'm a weirdo.
The beach towel market would take off. I don't know if there's enough beach towels in North Carolina for all the brisket we cook.
Well, there we go. And if we need to manufacture the next thing, get your merch at Bubbles and Brisket towels.
The brisket towel, you can have brisket written on it. So if you wrap it perfectly, it says brisket right on top.
Great freaking idea, man.
The NCF and brisket towel.
Yeah, baby.
There it is.
I like it. Get your merch here.
Okay, let's talk about. I want to talk about wood, and I want to talk about process. Like when, for one sourcing, you're sourcing from if you're going to go to multiple places, you've got to probably figure out your wood source. I don't know if you think too heavily about it. I mean, we're talking about we're in the city of oaks. You probably could get a lot of oak out here. You could probably get some, I don't know, walnut or whatever. Is that a big deal? Do you spend a lot of time staying up late at night as to what type of wood you get, or does it just kind of what's available?
It is a big deal. We burn through a lot of wood. Each store is burning through over a quart a week. So we're not, without the gas assist, it's a lot of wood. If that fire goes out, the fire goes out. We use all hickory.
Hickory.
I've always used hickory.
Yeah.
Hickory is what's abundant here in North Carolina. You go to Texas, they use post oak, they use mesquite. It's growing around there. I'm not going to pay money to import wood from across the country when I have a really good wood source right here locally. And it's very important. You don't want to have wood that's too green. You're going to produce black smoke. You like a nice 45 to 60 day age on it, so it's not too dry, but it's also not too wet. Because both of those can produce black smoke bad, white smoke good. Have you guys ever heard that?
Yeah, it's like when we get a pope. Yep. Got it.
And then also too, you don't want to get wood pieces that are too small. They'll burn too quick. Too much combustion is going to produce that black smoke. So wood is very important. I mean, without wood, we're not cooking.
Right.
So
you cook it down, you get it down to the charcoal, if you will, the charred embers, and then eventually, are you shoveling that in, or you're not doing separate boxes?
No, we don't do separate boxes. We're going wood straight into the smoke box.
Are you throwing fresh wood, does fresh wood go in while the meat's on the grill?
Yes.
It does?
Yes.
So okay.
Walk you through, let's start in the morning, if you will. We walk in, and basically you've got a small bed of coals and a bunch of ash, because we don't stay there overnight, so we load it up at night, and then it burns down. So when we come in at 6 a.m, usually there's not much of a fire left. So we're going to shovel out that ash, kind of spread the coal base out. We're going to start throwing wood in, probably about 2 or 3 pieces, kind of stacked, just to get the fire back up. So really, you don't, and then from that point on, you want to keep a nice coal base, and you'd only want to throw on 1 or 2 pieces at a time. You don't ever want the fire to go too hot to too cold to too, because then that's going to throw up the consistency of your cook.
Yeah.
So really, ideally, you just want to be adding 1 or 2 pieces. You throw them on top of the coals. They catch, they smoke up, and I think that's part of the reason we have people say we do have a really deep smoke flavor.
Yeah.
It's we're not just putting the charcoal. I know a lot of places they'll have a burn box and they'll take the coals and throw them in there.
That's what I was. Yeah. I think
but that's Lexington.
Lexington
right?
is doing that. Yeah.
But I think we get a stronger smoke flavor. We get a stronger smoke ring from that. Now there's consequences to that though too, and you talk about consistency and making sure the guys are trained right. If your fire's real low, what is your instinct is to throw a bunch of wood on to get it back up. Well, if you throw too much wood on at one time, the wood could be perfect, but if you throw 5 or 6 pieces on a nice little teepee and it goes whoosh,
yeah.
Well, you're gonna cause black smoke.
Black smoke. Your temperature's gonna spike.
You're gonna smell that chemical. People will be like, "Oh man, you smoked with gas. I can smell it." But that combustion will produce a chemical-like smell if you got too much of it.
Right. So your day starts at 6 a.m. You get that kindling going, you get your fires going, and then you're just going all day, right?
Hopefully the pork butts, if everything goes according to plan, which is sometimes.
Yeah.
We're pouring pork out right there around 7 o'clock. The ribs will go in for the day. We load the ribs 3 times a day. Right at 7, then again at 11. When they come out, we'll throw another load in, and then again we'll load another load for dinner. So we're cooking fresh throughout the day. The briskets hopefully come out around 8, 9 o'clock. That gives them a solid 2.5, 3 hours to rest before we go into service. I like the brisket to rest to under 150 degrees minimum. The longer the better.
Okay.
But then at that point, once the brisket come out, we've got a lot more space, and we're throwing in our chicken wings, our half chickens, bacon wrapped jalapenos, all that other good stuff that we're cooking throughout the course of the day. Smoked meatballs, which is not something you see every day.
Yeah.
And then that stuff's going all day long. We're cooking fresh because it does have. Everything does have a window, right? You want to talk about quality. You can't just cook in the morning and expect those ribs to be the same at 8 o'clock at night as they were at 11 o'clock in the morning.
What meat are your meatballs?
They are the scraps from trimming the brisket, so they're all brisket.
Okay,
that's awesome.
Brisket meatballs. Yeah, and explain a little bit more of the rest of your menu, because it does have. Would it be? Am I a novice when I say that it almost kind of has a Tex-Mex feel to it? Because you got the tortillas, but you do a lot of kind of Mexican style flavors.
Well, and
that
yeah,
I've
to get back
noticed.
to your question earlier about what's Midwood doing different or Charlotte doing different, I think we are kind of taking like some of the stuff we see in Texas that's good. It's not even about what's popular, this or that, but like when you go and you eat somewhere, you're like, damn, that was good. Like we've been down there, Valentina's and outside of Austin. You guys familiar?
No.
If you ever get to Austin,
Valentina's?
you have to go there.
Okay.
All right.
Noted.
Miguel Vidal, he's a great guy. We've been down there and worked with him. He's come up here and worked with us. But he does Valentina's Tex-Mex barbecue, and basically everything he's got, you can get a sandwich or you can get a taco, and that's the way the menu lines up.
Okay.
And he's making homemade tortillas, but it was just delicious, and some of that stuff is like eye-opening. It's like, well, man, barbecue and Mexican food kind of go hand in hand. You think about it like Texas's proximity to Mexico, and then the influx of people that coming up here and they're working in the restaurants and kind of started doing tacos just because the guys were eating tacos up during their breaks. They were coming in and bringing their own tortillas in that grandma made at home, but then they were taking the meat that we had on the line and they were making some damn good tacos.
Yeah.
And you kind of see that trend kind of down in Texas a lot more with like kind of veering off the traditional barbecue path. Even in Texas, which you think of as like traditional barbecue state, kind of veering off and trying something new.
Yeah.
And hence the tortilla maker we have here, we're kind of expanding that a little bit.
I noticed that in our selection of the brisket that was at Bubbles and Brisket, we didn't really tell anybody what to make or whatever. And actually, Remy, who works in your marketing division, Remy Thurston, if you guys knew back in the day, great podcast coming out of Charlotte for the longest time with Amber Donahue. But that's what we knew them originally. But I was emailing with Remy about what your menu was going to be. And I had already heard that Lawrence Barbecue was going to do their Leroy's tacos, which is their quesadilla, kind of like flat top seared brisket taco with a consomme to dip in. But that's on a corn taco, corn shell. And then Longleaf Swine was doing kind of like your traditional just corn taco with cilantro and onion, more like you'd see like a really good food truck. No offense, Longleaf. I mean, I'm saying to the absolute best version of a Mexican taco. But then you guys you're gonna do your version, but you had a flour tortilla, which I love because it's just like stretchy and gooey and yummy and fun. So I was like, oh, that's the third taco. And I mentioned to him like, well, that's 3 tacos. But then I realized, well, wait a minute, maybe that's just where brisket and barbecue and all of that is right now. Like that's the food. And those 3 tacos were wildly different from each other. So I kind of felt like there was enough room in the sandbox to do 3 different tacos and it didn't feel redundant. I think that's just kind of what we're doing, right?
Right.
As a royal we.
Talking about the barbecue bubble. Maybe the bubble's not going to burst. Maybe the bubble's just widening.
Keep expanding.
Yeah,
Right.
Yeah. Speaking of wow factors or getting to taste anything, did you get out and taste it, Bubble? You said you tasted like 9 different.
I did. I don't know if it was 9 exactly, but I did get around before I realized it was hot out and I had to sit and work a station for a couple hours and I couldn't get too bottom heavy. The Damp Good Barbecue, is that did I pronounce that right?
Yeah, you did.
I didn't get a chance to talk to the guy, but it was damn good.
Yeah.
They were good. I tried Jake's birria tacos. We do birria tacos as well, so I've kind of become like, if I see birria tacos anywhere, I want to try it. It's not even that I want to try the taco. I just want to see the consomme, the stock. I want to try that.
Right.
It's like kind of my new thing that I'm really into. It's just like the color and the taste and I just want to drink it.
Yeah.
Really.
Totally.
Yeah.
Those two are the 2 that really stood out.
Okay, so
What about you, man? Well, I guess we can't tell people what stood out. I got to give credit to Corner Boys, though. That barbecue that they were doing was kind of like the Haitian black rice.
Yeah.
It was the first thing that I ate because like James wouldn't let me walk by him without taking a piece of food. He's like, Max, get over here. And I'm like, I'm busy, man. I got to. He's like, get over here right now.
yeah.
And I went over there and he just like shoved a brisket in my mouth and it like stopped me in my tracks. I hooted and hollered all up and down the space because it was just unbelievable. So like that guy, he's doing such amazing work. He and Jamal, like those guys are just throwing it down.
Dude, everybody we had there, the reason that we had them there is because everybody is throwing it down and making just some unbelievable stuff.
I love that Carrie Schleifer decided, she's like, I normally, of Alley 26, she did her, kind of grandpa's oven braised brisket, and this time she's like, I'm going to try it a little different.
Yeah.
She still braised it, but she did actually more Mexican flavors. She put some cilantro, some onion, some pickled onion, and like, added more to depth to it. It was a different flavor profile, but still was like hers. But I like that. I like that it like there was an evolution of brisket.
Oh, totally. And then Bin 54 and the slider from East of Texas,
yeah,
out of Winston-Salem. That was pretty awesome as well. Like it was just, it was a celebration of brisket. Imagine that.
There you go.
All right, before we get out of here, Matt, what is maybe we've identified it's brisket tacos, but that seems already kind of it's happening now. What is like the next thing happening in barbecue, or what's like Midwood R&Ding for the future?
Like the Tex-Mex angle, we are R&Ding breakfast tacos with brisket.
Mm-hmm.
Barbecue breakfast tacos are an angle we're looking at. Really, as we got these locations right now, like our focus is just trying to like consistency and re-hone our craft and make sure like we're being in different markets that we're able to like have the product going out that we stood for that got us to this point.
Yeah.
And it's not an easy thing to do. That's our really thing is just like let's consolidate and make sure that these guys are doing it right. And then like I could see up here in Raleigh, like with the tortilla machine, the Tex-Mex angle really starting to take a hard right turn, start going down that angle.
Yeah.
I'm not mad at that.
No complaints on this side.
No, that sounds awesome.
Well, I appreciate you coming in. I'm glad we were able to do this. Oh, I didn't press record. Just kidding, everybody.
It's Matt's fault.
Yeah, it's Matt's fault. But thank you for coming in. I appreciate you being in here. I also appreciate the fact that now we got a barbecue place just down the street, around the corner at Smoky
I
Hollow.
have to go to lunch right now.
I know, I'm a little hungry. Maybe we have to do that. We have a meeting now. Maybe we got to do it off-site and go get some food. But, well, I don't know. Matt, what else you got?
Well, Matt, great to get to spend some time with you, and thank you for participating in Bubbles and Brisket and adding such a great product there and a great personality. Thanks for coming on. So for all of you out there, go to Midwood Smokehouse and you will eat and drink extremely American.
Thanks for listening to the NC F&B podcast. And if you've stuck with us this long, review us on iTunes and remember, 5 stars are encouraged.